Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Droid Live Show, episode 74. After a almost 2 month or month and a half break, we essentially took. So thanks for joining us on this sort of random Friday. I know it's a holiday week, short week, and again, it is a Friday and it's late, and also sort of short notice. But we just wanted to start the new year off chatting a little bit about just some things that wrapped up the end of 2014, and then talk about what's next in 2015, which just so happens to be CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. So it's just Tim and I today. Well, I'm Kellen, and there's Tim. Tim, if you want to say hi real quick.
I would love to say hi. Sorry about that. Yes, hello everyone. Sorry it's been so long.
But we're back for now. Obviously, it's we have a whole new year ahead of us, and we'll try to do as many shows as possible. I don't want to guarantee that we're going to do a show every single week going forward. We're just, you guys know us. We're just not like that. We do shows as much as we can, and we like doing them, and we'll continue to do them. So we're back for now, though. It's January 2nd. It's crazy that it's a new year already. I don't know that last year went insanely fast, but it's kind of crazy to think we're in 2015, Back to the Future 2 year.
Yeah, exactly. 2014 was easily the quickest year of my life. It absolutely flew by. And maybe that's because I'm getting older. And everyone who's older says, "Oh man, the older you get, the quicker the years go by." Like I didn't want to believe that, but now with 2014 gone, I'm a little worried about the
Yeah,
future.
it does kind of. You're right. As you get older, it does seem to the years just kind of blend together and go a lot faster. Maybe it's because you're just not like wild and out all the time or something. I don't know.
I mean, I'm still partying, but life quick.
Yeah. So what we want to do again is kind of just go through some end of the year stuff. We had some top 10 lists, like best phones and apps and takeaways and things like that. And then once we get through those, we'll run through CES a little bit, talk about next week. 'Cause next week, it's a big week in terms of technology. While CES isn't exactly a mobile-focused show, there's enough going on that we definitely still go every year and usually have a blast, even if the news is a little light. So let's start off first with, so we ran through best phones of the year, and we talked a little bit about this amongst ourselves, and then I sort of wrote it up and kind of tossed in, my point of view on most of this stuff. But uh, we I think we both agree that the Moto X second gen is the phone of the year, and as much as people seem to kind of want to disagree.
As much as people want to call us Moto fanboys, hate to say it, but we pretty much ran every phone from 2014, and we kept going back to the Moto X, and there must be a reason for that. I mean, it matches. It's got the performance, the size we like. It just works for us, and if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. That's no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one of the things about whenever you do a top list, right, and especially when you start ranking things, and if their phone isn't there, it's like college football, college basketball, whatever. We talk about this with the Blazers, how they never get any love. You invest in something, and if everyone else doesn't say, or somebody doesn't say that your product is ranked where you want it to be, obviously you're going to get offended. You're invested in that, and with phones, right? These are expensive phones. You bought one. You're invested in it for a couple of years. If somebody says it's not the best phone, you're probably going to disagree with them, and you should, right? I mean, but we all have opinions, and so we sort of threw ours out there, and yeah, we kind of came up with the Moto X. But I will say that we also, a couple weeks before we ran that list, we ran a poll that said, "What's the Android phone of the year?" And our readers agreed with us. 20% out of 15,000 votes all said Moto X second gen. So it's not like we just kind of came up with this out of nowhere. We took feedback from all over. So
Each of those phones that were listed in the top 10, I mean, especially when you get past the top two or top three phones, could have been swapped for
right.
places and stuff, and it kind of just becomes personal preference. We didn't go on sales numbers or anything like that. I mean, we just go personal preference is the best we could do, and yeah, and like I say, each of those phones has pros and cons. Some of them have more pros, more cons, etc., etc. But I looked over your list, I looked over your thoughts, and I thought it was good. I mean, as long as Galaxy Note 4 and the
Yeah.
Moto X second gen were up there in the top three at least, I was going to be happy because those were my top two phones of the year easily.
Yeah, I think we sort of talked, between each other that the Note 4 and the Moto X are probably clearly the two best phones, and I think most people feel that way. I think where people got a little offended was that the Nexus 6 didn't even make really the top five, and I know it just came out, and it's Google's new Nexus, and Motorola made it, and there's a lot of things to like. It's just like all these other phones, like the other five we put in front of it, I think we would rather use over a Nexus 6. And it's not to say that we don't think the Nexus 6 is a good phone. I reviewed it. I liked it. It was fun to use. But as I went back and started ranking things and picking up phones again and switching in between this phone to that phone over basically since I got done reviewing the Nexus 6, I've been jumping in between phones. And I've had no. I mean, none of us want to. Well, I shouldn't say that. You and I and Ron, but like Kyle has an Nexus 6, Dave has one, Eric, they have one, so they obviously like the Nexus 6, but it just wasn't. We just didn't come up with it as in our top five.
I mean, if size isn't an issue, then you're gonna have a great time with the Nexus 6. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't really like that big of a phone, so you can't blame people for not liking the Nexus 6 because it has a 6-inch display. I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, and if the Moto X is basically a smaller version of the Nexus 6, except you can
Absolutely.
do cool things like wood and leather. Like the camera's pretty much the same. The battery life on the Nexus 6 not great. So, yes, it has a Quad HD display over it. Performance, I would argue, is worse on the Nexus 6 because it has that stupid encryption enabled. So it takes a hit there. So there's all sorts of reasons. But anyways, that's kind of what we went with.
Yeah, absolutely. I got the Bamboo White Moto X with running Lollipop, and it's faster than any phone I played with in 2014. So I'm digging it.
Yeah, I think some people were surprised to see that I threw the OnePlus One on there. I know you can't stand anything that OnePlus does, and I'm kind of with you for that. It's just that this phone, I used it not longer than any phone this year, but pretty close. I mean, I used it for most of the summer while there was nothing coming out. I was just using it, and I liked it, even though it's huge. And I got this phone, the OnePlus One, right before I think I wrote one of those posts about how I hate the current landscape of giant phones. And this phone, I loved. And the battery life. Speaking of battery life, this thing lasts like 2 days easily. It just goes and goes and goes. Performance is good. You can customize. It's got this really cool skin on the back. The display was okay, but the camera's fine. It was just a cool phone. So
Yeah, I didn't spend too much time with it. I just don't agree with the company or really anything they did. So that's
which is
cool.
fine.
That was enough for me to say no. No.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad someone was able to get their hands on it. You being the only one and really enjoyed it. So that's good.
I think most people that eventually did get one. So I think there's two people, right? There's people that just said screw you OnePlus, I'm not doing this, and then there's people that actually said even though you're a bunch of a-holes, I'll still buy your phone because it's cheap and has all these cool specs. And those people that got one, most of them really like the phone.
Of course.
But yeah, just most people didn't want to deal with that. But like you said, the top two, I think we're pretty set on those being the top two. But after that, I mean, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I kind of tossed in the 6 through 10. You could really swap any of these phones. I mean, the G3 could be in the top 5. It's a really nice phone. Did some really innovative things this year before anyone else. Obviously, the Nexus 6 you could fit in there. A lot of people I think were surprised I didn't have the One M8 in there, and I think what killed me on the One M8 is I went back to the Google Play Edition recently because it got Lollipop, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to dive back into this phone. I feel like I missed it because of the metal build and all this stuff, and I use it for like 2 days, and I just kind of went, this is not my favorite phone at all of the year. There's all these other phones I would use before it, so. Anyways, we ranked them. These are our rankings, and we asked you for your own, so. It is what it is.
They're just phones, man.
Yeah.
I get it. We take it pretty darn seriously, but at the same time, we're just trying to have a good time.
Yeah, just trying to have a good time. So, let's see. Oh, by the way, though, the poll where we asked you to vote, you said Moto X second gen was the phone of the year, followed by Nexus 6, then Note 4, then Droid Turbo, then G3, then OnePlus, and the M8 pretty far down there too. Obviously, Samsung. Other than the Note 4, the Galaxy S5 didn't get a lot of love. It's not like the Galaxy S5 is a terrible phone. It's just that it didn't do anything for anyone this year. I feel like it didn't change really, except they made it bigger for no reason and then threw a new back plate on, but it wasn't really an upgrade or anything, right?
No, if anything, it was a downgrade in my book.
Yeah,
I mean, the
I would say.
camera may have been cool, but performance was hindered, to say the
Hmm.
least, by TouchWiz
Yeah,
and other various performance hiccups that it had.
yeah.
And the bezels got bigger. Like I didn't know that was even possible, but
Right.
they did over the S4. Like I would take the S4 over the S5, probably, maybe. I mean, if it came down to it, I'd
Uh,
probably take the S4 just because I like the design much better.
I
So,
do too. Yeah.
but the S6, I'm waiting for that one.
Yeah, but so our list wasn't that different from everyone's. I just had the One Plus up there because I used it and really liked it. Z3 Compact I threw in there just because I think it's such an underrated device that people overlook because you can't really get it. But it's like it's an amazing phone if you can use it, like small phone. Clearly, though, Motorola had a really nice year. If you look at the list with people voting, three of the top four phones people bought, at least on our site, and you have to assume a lot of these votes are the phones that people bought, right? Some people voted based on what they thought was good, even if it wasn't their phone, but a lot of people probably on what they bought. So our readers are just three of the top four Motorola: Moto X, Nexus 6, and Droid Turbo. Kind of crazy.
Pretty impressive. Kind of reminds me, just back in the day when there weren't that many phones out.
Yeah.
There was only really Motorola, Samsung, LG. Now
Yeah.
there's just a ton, and Motorola kind of came back and dominated the pack, which I think I saw coming. I think I called this.
Yeah, it's funny how, the rankings and stuff, at least on our site, heavy Motorola stuff, had a really nice year. If you look at reviews around the entire tech world, not just our site, most people called the Moto X second gen the best Android phone you can buy. We didn't just do that on our own with our Moto money or whatever you guys want to say. Most people called it the best Android phone you could buy. But most people had good things to say about the Turbo. The Nexus 6, I think, threw some people off. That's a tech enthusiast phone. People that read Droid Life, like they're gonna like the Nexus 6. I don't know that many other people are going to. But the Turbo, that got really nice reviews, and a lot of people love it, and I fully get it. We called that our number 3 phone. Really nice phone, other than those stupid capacitive buttons, but otherwise, yeah, good to hear from Moto. I don't know how many phones they sold. Probably not enough to push the needle, but they made good products, and they did the 360 too. So
Absolutely, they killed it in all categories.
yeah, so good year. Let's see. So I ran through earlier. I think it was earlier this week. Some general takeaways from the year. So maybe thought we'd toss out a couple of these. And just sort of talk about them. We'll talk about Lollipop just kind of being a beta, but that's sort of expected with almost any Android release, right? Even though they did the developer preview, Android builds are just always buggy. And we get, like, you and I are both running Lollipop on our Moto X's, and it's super buggy. Like, there's all sorts of like just little things that you have to basically reboot your phone like once a day in order to like refresh everything. And so we talked about that. Motorola, which we just mentioned, having a good year in terms of products. Who knows how many they sold? There's also some question marks there because now Lenovo does actually own them, and how things are going to change there, we don't know. China coming along. Now, while China's not like invading the U.S. in terms of smartphone sales, they're just hacking away at all the big manufacturers' market share, and I think they're all scared, and their sales are all down globally. T-Mobile sort of making major moves again in the wireless carrier world, and it's kind of been interesting to watch AT&T and Verizon, and Sprint too, react to what they're doing. So things are changing there. I talked a little bit about Android Wear, if anyone really cares about it, or if it's still just kind of the tech geek thing, which is interesting, right? Because the Apple Watch is coming, and everyone's going to care, non-techies. But Android Wear has been out for months and months and months, and I just don't know that people really care much. And then I talked about 2015, which I think it strikes me as going to be a really, really big year, because I think everyone has to start doing things differently. It was a terrible year in terms of sales and meeting expectations. Almost everyone failed except the Chinese manufacturers and like LG, and Motorola might have done okay because they sold a whole bunch of Moto Gs. But like Samsung had a terrible year in terms of sales and goals, and HTC not really great again. So I think 2015, these companies have to start doing something, innovating again, changing, new hardware, design, new marketing, something. It's going to change, and so it should be a fun year. So, any of that stuff stick out that you want to chat through?
Yeah, I mean, Lollipop, of course, was sort of a big deal for me at least. It seemed like, say, when you talk in comparison between iOS and Android, it was always what apps do you have on your OS, to make you want to buy that phone. Like, for example, there were so many exclusive iOS apps. I was like, oh man, like Tiny Wings, just for an example. But it kind of pushes you to want that system just because apps are going to get there faster and all that. Hello, Loki. But now with Lollipop, it's not just to me. It's just not about the apps. Like I want Lollipop. I won't go back to a phone that's running KitKat because I want Lollipop, and that's just the OS. You bring
Right.
on the apps that sort of accessorize the system with the themed notification bars and all that, and it's all just a sort of cohesive package now with the apps and the OS. It is absolutely gorgeous. Like I love Lollipop so much. It has a ways to
Love
go.
it.
Like you said, we have the Moto X running Lollipop, and it is buggy,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. But like with any other build of Android, the team will continue to tweak, hopefully, and fix some of these bugs, and just make it better in an overall package. Maybe 5.1 or 5.0.1 or whatever they do.
I was just gonna say it's gonna be like
Gosh,
in like a month we're gonna be on 5.0.6. Like that's how we're already on 5.0.2.
that's true.
It
So
yeah.
they're moving. They're moving along, and all and that's what sort of sucks about some of the companies and some of the phones that people buy, which is unfortunate. A lot of phones won't see Lollipop, for maybe a couple more months, a few more months, or God forbid, never get Lollipop, and that's upsetting. Like you want everyone to be running the latest and greatest version of Android, and unfortunately, Lollipop is it. And if you have a Samsung device that has a lot of skin or an LG device who is clearly they lie. They said the update would be available in December, although they made it available in a country where no one has an LG device.
Right.
Uh, who knows what's going on, and they aren't transparent enough for you to know. Here's when I'm going to have Lollipop. Besides HTC, shout out to them for at least saying, hey, 90 days you'll have it, and
Yeah.
of course Motorola, who's killing it. So we still need to see it on carriers, of course, but that's coming, I'm sure. Just waiting for the certification process.
I'm starting to wonder a little bit, like early on when Lollipop dropped, like obviously the Google Play editions are going to get it, and the Nexus devices, and Motorola was ready with the Pure Edition Moto X. And did the Verizon Moto X get it too? It did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so but like the Turbo doesn't have it.
Mhm.
The AT&T Moto X, I still don't believe that has it. Obviously, there isn't a Sprint version. And then the older Moto X, no, doesn't, right? So it's like they started off really hot, and then it's really kind of slowed down. So I don't know if it's too buggy. You know what I mean? Like, are we waiting for like 5.1 or something like that that's going to address a whole bunch of stuff? And so none of these people want to. So none of these companies want to touch it. Like HTC, yeah, they gave us the 90 days, but I sort of figured like the unlocked version would maybe get it by now, but maybe they're just not. No, because they're not going to put Sense 7. They're going to save that for their new flagship. So it'll be Sense 6, which hasn't really changed. So like we haven't seen that really happen. Samsung's slowly rolling it out. Like you said, with LG in countries where no one owns smartphones. So it's like they're kind of doing it, but it's been almost 2 months, right, since Lollipop code dropped, and everyone's kind of paused. I feel like.
I blame the holidays. You had Thanksgiving and Christmas and then New Year's. Maybe people just don't want to work. Maybe now that January is here and once CES cools down, maybe people will just start rolling out Lollipop updates left and right. I mean, I'm sure HTC has to be close, right? I mean, they're getting ready to announce their next
Yeah.
flagship. It would be probably a good idea.
I
As
think they're
much as
about
they
60
talk,
days in. So
yeah, as much as they talk on Twitter about how cool they are, I would love to see them get Lollipop out to their users who want it. 'Cause people are dying for it. Like you saw, people have the HTC, the One M8, like they want it, and still have the M7. Like people own these devices
yeah,
and they want the Lollipop.
yeah, hopefully soon. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what the deal is. But yeah, maybe it's just like you said, it's holidays. People aren't, they're not doing updates. They're gonna wait January when we all start working again, and it'll
Of course,
happen.
yeah. Who knows? I mean, that is seriously just a guess. But it seems like, with holidays, we weren't working as much. Maybe they're not working as
Maybe,
much. Who
maybe
knows?
not. So anything else out of that list, like T-Mobile stuff or Android Wear? So Android Wear, I pointed out in my article that like I wear my this Moto 360 out, and almost every time I wear it, somebody sees me either playing with it or they see it light up, or it's just it's a nice looking watch, and they always say like, oh, what is that? That's a cool watch, and I tell them, and then I explain what it does, and no one has once said like, oh, I want that, or where can I buy one, or how much is that. Like no one ever asks, and like I don't get why. I don't have a reason or an answer like why that no one seems to want to like move from, oh, that's really cool, to I want that. But no one, like, do you still wear yours probably a little bit? Does anyone ever say like, oh, I want that, or does everyone just own an iPhone? Or
No, even my iPhone toting buddies, they all love the Moto 360. I
uh,
mean, I really haven't come across someone in real life. I see it online all the time, but in real life, IRL, I don't see people talking smack on the 360. It's a good looking watch. No one's ever said, where can I buy one? But
right.
they definitely like it because it is a nice looking watch.
Yeah.
It's a classic looking timepiece. So,
I just don't get why people, So I kind of just pointed out that Android Wear is here and it's cool, and like you and I are using it, and the people that read Droid Life are using it. But is this going to be a big deal, or are people just waiting for the Apple Watch, and then and Android Wear might be a big deal because then they'll know more about smartwatches, or is it just not cool? Do people just not wear watches anymore? Maybe.
yeah, I think it's possible that once Apple Watch is released, Android Wear has the potential to get bigger, but then again, I think it'll always be a second tier option to people because of the Apple Watch. I mean, really, people want quality, so when they think quality, they think Apple, and Apple knows what they're doing in terms of design and all that, so people will just, I think, check that out first. And then,
Yeah.
if they own an Android device, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the typical Android user that I see on the street. Like, I don't know if they have a need for a smartwatch at all,
Yeah.
but if
Well, I'm
you're
trying to think
in,
like my mom, right? We just ordered her a new Moto X,
right,
and she's obviously seen my watch, and I'm trying to think like, would my mom wear an Android like there's the Moto 360 with the skinnier band. That's they won't
sure.
say it's the version meant for women, but clearly that's who they're trying to target there. But like I don't know, like what I don't think I would get her one. I don't know that she would benefit from it. Like she'd have to charge it every night. You
Yeah,
have to do
charge
that.
every night. You got to set it up,
Yeah,
and sometimes they're buggy or
yeah.
whatever, and they got to get a system update, and you don't know what's going on. Like, I just don't know if it's there yet. It could be down like Android Wear version, whatever, the next one.
Yeah, I feel
But
like
these
we're
are all
still. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, these are all like first gen devices still. So I don't maybe no one's really nailed it yet. Like a Moto 362 with a better battery, one that lasts like 3 days instead of 8 hours or 9 hours or whatever
Right.
would be good. I will say the Moto 360 has only gotten better with time, with the
Yeah.
updates and all that. The battery life lasts me a solid day, even with ambient mode display on. So
Yeah.
it's only gotten better. I'm so happy that purchase was made just because it's a darn good looking device. Now with the interchangeable bands from Motorola, I mean, you have plenty of options.
Yeah.
So fantastic investment in terms of a smartwatch.
Yeah. But it's like you said, maybe they haven't nailed it. Um, it took a long time for people to want, smartphones, right? There was terrible smartphones forever. And, Apple came out with the iPhone, and it became like the standard for smartphones. And that's kind of when people started really buying, like there was Blackberries before, sure, some Palm devices or Windows devices or whatever the hell they were called back in the day. But, Apple sort of nailed it. While I don't think there's any chance in hell they nail it with the Apple Watch, because we've seen that thing and it looks terrible. Um, it's like somebody has to come up with the reason, right? Like you needed a smartphone because we needed more information all the time, and so we needed it on us, because you couldn't just carry a laptop around, right? So you had the smartphone. Maybe with a watch, there just isn't that. I think Ron's kind of talked about this a lot. Like
That's
he's
what
still
Ron. That's his main argument. Like, what's the need for it? What do I need
right,
it for? So, I
right.
don't know, just
And
because it
so
looks
maybe that's why when you tell people what it is after they say it's really cool, they go, okay, that's cool, but I don't need that. And maybe that's what it comes down to. Like there
yeah.
isn't the reason. So
Well, I guess one of the problems with the 360 versus all the other smartwatches is that I think it looks good, and I would wear a watch regardless. So just
right.
because it looks good, I would wear it, just because I like to accessorize.
Yeah.
But if I didn't accessorize and never wore a watch, then I would just never wear a watch. But because I do like watches, I take advantage of that added, albeit regardless of how much it is, the added functionality. So
Yeah. And
personal preference.
that's part of it too is you and I could just be in the minority these days as people who wear watches. A lot
We're
of people
all,
just probably don't wear watches anymore. They have a phone that has a clock on it. So
exactly. We are always in the minority. We like Motorola phones and the Moto 360.
yeah.
So.
So the other thing I talked about then was the most memorable Android thing of the year. So I made the argument that it was kind of a down year for Android. While everyone made good phones, we had Android Wear and we got Lollipop. I was trying to think of like the defining moment in Android of the year, and seriously, the only thing I could think of was like Apple admitting that everyone likes big phones. The Android phones have been big for years and years and years, and like basically copying that and putting out two phones and two sizes, a phablet and a regular. And that's like when I look back at the year, I just go, this is kind of the year that Apple admitted Android was right and created these big phones. And people got crazy excited. We had stupid bend tests and all that crap. And there was two phones and which one? And people jumped from like a tiny little iPhone 4 to like a 6 Plus, and they were scared and they didn't know what to do. And people were sitting on phones, and it was like this whole thing. And on Android, I just can't think of like. So do you have like for you? If you look back at the year Android, was there like a defining moment? Like in 4 years from now, you're going to look back at 2014 and go, oh yeah, that was the year that this happened on Android. Like I couldn't come up with one.
That's a really tough question. I would probably maybe relate 2014 to the year of Android really branching out to different industries such as Android Auto, and Android Wear as well. It seems like the Android team and Google in general isn't really afraid to take Android to places where people maybe didn't necessarily think they needed it or wanted it. I can't tell you how many CES emails I've gotten so far to say like, check out my connected fridge this year at CES. It's running Android, whatever.
Right.
And, it seems like Android's really just kind of going everywhere. I think that already existed, but now with Android Auto and Google getting serious about putting that in the car and putting it on your wrist and putting on top of your eyes with VR stuff, it just seems like Android's really branching out just from the smartphones, tablets, and set-top boxes that are connected to your TV. So 2014, yes, besides Apple being wrong the entire time and Tim Cook admitting that Google was right, I would say just Android branching out from the smartphone stuff. I guess that type of consumer electronic, the in-your-pocket stuff. That's exciting to me.
Yeah, Android really is going everywhere. It's funny that you say that because I can't even remember how many years ago it was when at I/O we got Android at home, and it was supposed to like bring Android to the home, and that basically died. But now Android's opened up enough that it's starting to kind of make its way into other things. It feels like, and I don't really know what started that, because the Android at home thing, like that just didn't turn into anything ever. But yeah, like you said, you're still seeing Android kind of hit different areas because people are just finding more ways to use Android as it is, which is cool to see. So
yeah, maybe it's just becoming more of a flexible OS. I think especially with Lollipop. Now you think we have Lollipop. I mean, it was saying that Android Auto was going to be based a lot on Lollipop, and my Nexus player, of course, runs Lollipop, and it's just a really good-looking OS. And maybe it's just much more flexible than, say, Froyo, or say if you had like a car infotainment center system that ran Android. I mean, you could tell that that version of Android was not necessarily made for that. Like it was like running Froyo or Gingerbread or something like that. It just looked like crap. So or even old Android tablets back in the day. They were just running the phone version, but on a bigger display. It just, the OS is maturing quite a bit. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Let's see. So looking into 2015, anybody, company in particular, that you're most excited to see what they do? But before you do that, though, so HTC said last week, at least one of their communications guys said that he says that their roadmap is their best ever for 2015, and they have like, some major surprises, and it's going to be super awesome. But anybody in particular, HTC, Samsung, Moto again, that you're most excited to see what they do?
Yeah, I think HTC said that same thing the year before too, and I was really like blown away by 2014. Duo cameras have got to go.
Yes.
But regardless of all that, I would say Samsung. They were they weren't sleeping this year, but they just weren't contending with the phones that they put out besides the Note 4. And I really don't even count the Note 4. I guess because the Note 4 stands apart from the S6, at least in my book, so much that the Note 4, to me at least, was a success. It featured a kind of like that future design that they're going for that was featured on the Galaxy Alpha as well. Like the devices that were released in the second half of the year were very cool. But the S5, which was released in the first half of the year, not so good. Mm-hmm. So I'm really looking forward to the Galaxy S6. I'm really hoping it features chamfered edges, as corny as that sounds. Like, that's actually what I really liked about the Note 4. It felt really great. So, new design, lollipop, insane camera, insane Super AMOLED QHD display in a form factor that I can manhandle with my little hands, and so Samsung, really, I don't know if I really care about their smartwatches or tablets or any of that stuff, but definitely I would love to have a Samsung phone that I enjoy using. So, yeah. Samsung.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty excited. I don't even know that I'll call it excited. I just want to see what they do with the S6 because the S5 clearly didn't work out, and so they need to do something. But will they? I hope because we do this on a daily basis, because I'm selfish, I want to write about a really cool Samsung phone. And yes, the Note 4 was awesome, and you reviewed that, and had nothing but good things to say. But like the S6 is like, it's like when the iPhone comes out, right? The Galaxy S line. It's the phone from Samsung that's supposed to go a whole year and supposed to sell more than any other phone on the planet, and it still might, who knows. But it's like that's the phone we kind of all want to see, and last year was just so meh. And so I want it to be awesome.
Galaxy S, man, that should be the industry standard that we set all other manufacturers to, because that's the way it was with the S2 and what we thought, the S3 and S4. Like, that was like the event of the year. Broadway and acting and all this stuff. It was great, but and so much marketing behind it. Samsung making fun of Apple and really like holding that flag for the Android fanboys, saying, you know what, screw Apple, screw everyone who uses an Apple device. We're going to rock the torch and carry it home. But unfortunately, 2014 was not that year for Samsung. So, like you said, we just really hope that Samsung is a contender again. And of course, I want good phones from everybody. I want awesome phones from LG. I want their QHD displays to be better. I want HTC to do something better. Like, I know you
get rid of 4 megapixel cameras.
Yeah, exactly. Just put a good camera in there. For what we saw with the HTC Hima, however you're pronouncing it, it looks cool, but I have to see it to believe it type of deal, So I'm sure HTC has an amazing product roadmap ahead of them, but I'll just be hesitant because they really got you with the 1M8.
When HTC says they have surprises, I don't know if I think that's.
I don't want re-camera too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Is that a good thing? Does that just mean they're going to try to enter other new markets because they can't sell smartphones? I don't know that that's what I want to see from HTC. I just want them to make awesome smartphones that aren't gimmicks,
Exactly. HTC has a great design group, so if they wanted to get, say, into wearables or something like that, like I would be cool with that, like an awesome metal HTC smartwatch. I could see that being a huge hit. But at the same time, they've been so on and off about if they're doing wearables and what exactly they're working on, so you can't even trust anything they say anymore because you just have to wait until they release it.
Yeah. The only other thing I would be interested to see is what's going to happen with Motorola and Lenovo. I know Lenovo said Motorola is going to stand on its own, in the U.S. and carry that torch still, just like they're doing. But do we really believe that, like fully? Like, there's got to be some changes. I just hope they don't screw it all up. And Motorola's in a tough position anyway because they clearly aren't their high-end flagship phones. They're not selling that many of. Although I don't know that anyone is these days except Apple and a little bit of Samsung, but I just don't want them to screw it. Look at the year Motorola just had. Like all those products we talked about that people love. Like Lenovo, I just don't want them to screw it up.
Besides shutting down, all American jobs, anything that would cost them a lot of money, anything to put them back in black, I think is what they're going to try and do. Cut down pricing on manufacturing. Close that Texas plant, which I'm pretty sure they did already because we ordered a Moto Wags and they came straight from China.
Right.
So I don't know if they're really going to screw with the team at Motorola. Besides people leaving,
well, there's
I don't
like
know
no
if they're
one
really,
left anyway, right? Yeah.
exactly. I don't know if they're really going to try and screw with the game plan of Motorola, but definitely try and cut costs at every corner. I can see that taking place. I mean, Lenovo's not a bad company in terms of quality. I think the ThinkPad and all those their laptops have been been dominating the market for quite some time. Right. So I have some faith. I'm not just gonna cut ties with Moto Money just because Lenovo owns it and it's not a Google-made company anymore. So
and there's also a pretty good chance that next year is still the roadmap before Lenovo. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So whatever comes next year might just still be pre-Lenovo stuff, and then it might be the year after that. But we'll see. We'll see. Lots of stuff. I think 2015 is actually going to be fun. I think there's going to be some cool stuff.
I think now with Lollipop out,
yeah,
it has the potential to be the best year in Android. As long as all flagships are launched with Lollipop, with good skins maybe on top, maybe TouchWiz is cut down a little bit.
Yeah, it's time, right, for everyone, because Lollipop is such a big change. It's time for everyone to redo their skins and hopefully make them not terrible. So that might even be like the biggest story of the year that terrible skins disappeared.
That would be great.
I don't have that much faith in these manufacturers.
Well, Sony, they're coming back with the skins.
Sony, I still feel like Sony hasn't updated their skin in 6 years.
It's been a while.
It's been so long. All right, so quickly, biggest flop of the year. We didn't put together our own list. We basically just had readers say what was the biggest flop, and I think hands down everyone pretty much said it was the Fire Phone. I mean, we threw out some options to get people going, like was it the Galaxy S5, missing the mark so bad? The fact that Verizon still hasn't sold the Nexus 6 yet, which they've told me twice, like officially in an official capacity, that they're going to carry it, they just won't share anything else. So it's clearly going through testing. But let's see what else. How long it took the Motorola to launch the Moto 360? Remember, because we got a view of that like in April and didn't launch until almost October or something, I think. Things like that. So anyways, yeah, basically everyone said the Fire Phone, Amazon's Fire Phone.
I can understand why they would think that, but I guess I never saw the Fire Phone as even a contender or whatever. I just figured it was Amazon having fun. Yeah. To me, 1+1 marketing and distribution of that phone, the invite system, and everything that had to do essentially with the release of that phone was insulting to human intelligence. It didn't seem right. It seemed dirty, and good people behind it. The CM team, they do great work. I'm sure OnePlus, no one sets out with like harsh intentions, or no one wants to make a phone hard to come by, but just the way they did it, it just didn't work. And every time we would post something about OnePlus, because it was newsworthy, people would get upset, like, I'm so over OnePlus1. And it didn't really
promote free promotion, basically.
Exactly, and it didn't really seem to reflect in the flop of the years, at least from what I saw. I thought OnePlus1 just absolutely, killed themselves.
Yeah.
And instead, it seems like they're getting ready for round 2 in 2015, which is good. If you learn, if they can learn from their mistakes in 2014, then by all means, I'm open to giving the OnePlus 2 a go, because I saw the phone, it was just fine, but it was just something about supporting the company felt iffy to me.
It feels a little greasy supporting them. I'm with you 100% on that.
the girl stuff. It was the whole promotion about if you're a selfie or whatever. Like I was like, oh my lord, they
Yeah.
can't do anything
Well,
right.
and remember they did the broke like smash your phone thing when
Oh,
everyone's like, why don't you just tell people to donate their
donate the
phones?
phone, exactly. There's a lot of needy people who would love a smartphone. I'm sure, or just a phone in general. So
Yeah.
it's really kind of upsetting. I get where they're coming from. I would think, oh, like yeah, like in the board meeting, I'm sure it sounded totally awesome. Everyone's high fiving, but when you announce it and it's not going over well, maybe just like apologize and start
Right.
fresh.
Right.
But they just kept coming back with more crap ideas. So I thought their marketing team was the biggest flop of 2014.
They were pretty bad, yeah. I'm just looking through all the comments. Oh, there's a Colin Kaepernick as the biggest flop of the year in there.
Don't get me started on Cap. He was the biggest flop, unfortunately. As
Uh,
much of a 49ers fan I am, and I love me some Kaepernick, he blew it. I'm so sad to see Harbaugh go off to Michigan, but
Rough year for
good
your
luck to them.
49ers, yeah.
It's going to be a rough decade ahead, I think. But
It might be. All right, so yeah, so I mean, I would agree. OnePlus and the Fire Phone. The Fire Phone just we don't even really have to talk about it to know how. I mean, everyone knows how big of a disaster the Amazon Fire Phone was.
yeah, I never
What a
even held it.
mess.
So,
I have one. When it dropped to 199
oh,
at
really?
Amazon with no contract, I
Oh,
was like, I might as well just keep one in house just to see.
just in case.
It's
Well, you can put Google Play services on it now, so it's pretty much like an Android phone.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far with doing anything with it. I
No.
basically turned it on and was like, all right, let me just see what this is about.
Well, is it kind of cool, the gimmicky stuff? Is it cool at least, like to look at?
It's kind of cool. Like you can hold it, and instead of twisting, like you can move your head and look, and it's like you're
Oh,
looking around. So
well,
it's kind of cool, but it was just it's just a gimmick. There's not that many uses for it.
it's Amazon though, you know. I mean, eh,
It definitely feels like kind of a Nexus 4-ish slash iPhone.
well, that's cool.
It's a stupid phone though.
Uh,
I don't even know where it is. It's somewhere in here. I should probably donate it.
it wasn't in the top 10. That's all that needs to be
Yeah.
said.
No, it wasn't. Let's see. So, best apps and games. You wrote up a couple of these lists. You want to just maybe mention a couple from them that people should definitely go grab, download, buy.
Yeah, I will. I'll run down the list real quick. None of these are numbered in importance at all. I just went. I didn't want anyone getting upset, like, hey, how's this number one, like they did with you. So, my top 10 games of 2014 were Hitman Go, Impossible Road, Leo's Fortune, Monument Valley, Out There, One More Line, Quiz Up, Smash Hit, Threes, and Trivia Crack. Now, the three games I would really love you to go download would be One More Line, Monument Valley, and I'd say Quiz Up or Out There. I mean, One More Line is just it's a really cool kind of arcade-ish type of game. Monument Valley is a really well done puzzler, but it is absolutely beautiful. And Out There, space exploration, if you're into that stuff, and commandeering alien spaceships and traveling around the galaxy, then I absolutely recommend it. And Quiz Up is a very well-known trivia app where you go up against another player in a certain category and see who knows the most. And so those were my games. I recommend downloading all of them. But if you don't have that kind of time, then there's a few you should.
What's the out of all of those? What are you still playing like right now? Are you still
I'm
playing
still,
One More Line?
yeah, well, I'm still playing One More Line. I'm playing Trivia Crack, and I'm also playing Monument Valley because the new
Oh, that's
level
right.
pack came out and I didn't get to play it, so now I'm kind of going back and playing that. However, there is another game that I was going to mention a little later in the show, but it's not available on Google Play, so I did not put it on this list. However, it would have been possibly a top 10 game, and that is Crossy Road. It's an exclusive to the Amazon App Store, which I think is the greatest mistake a company could make is exclusively launch your app onto Amazon App Store where the people are.
I wonder how much money Amazon offers them to do that.
They
Right?
must offer
It's
them
got to be
quite
a
a
lot, right? Yeah.
They must offer them quite a bit, but at the same time, this game has quite a few in-app purchases. So if they would have just released it to Google Play, they could have made that money up. This would have been instantly number one. I guarantee. As soon as this game launches on Google Play, it'll be number one in paid apps or in trending, in new apps. It's going to be number one in all of those for quite some time because it is quite a fun game. But unfortunately, you won't find it because it's in the Amazon App Store. So there's that. I haven't even written up the game, I believe, because it's in the Amazon App Store. I'm waiting for the Google Play launch, which I believe is a week from now on January 9th, from what Ronald told me. So if he is to be trusted.
Is Crossy Road like Frogger, but...
Yes, it's exactly like Frogger, except that you are a chicken,
Yeah,
or a variety of other little characters that you can unlock via in-app purchase or game coins, which you collect while you're playing. It's like an endless runner in friends, and it's super cute. It's smooth, depending on what phone you use. Use the Moto X and Lollipops, of course it's smooth.
How long has this been on Amazon only?
I think it's got to be almost a month now.
Oh yeah, it said December 13th. So.
Yeah, but I never even heard of it until I saw people tweeting about it and talking about it in the comments section. I was like, Crossy Road, what's this? Because I don't open the Amazon App Store. And they're like, oh, man, it's this sweet game on the Amazon App Store. I was like, what's that? So I downloaded the Amazon App Store, downloaded the game, and I totally fell in love. Yet I will not promote it, except for right now. Exclusive. So those were my top games. So we can talk top apps now if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Top 10 apps of 2014 were the Cabinet Beta, Phoenix, third-party Twitter application, If This Then That, IFTTT, Inbox by Gmail or Google, Mailbox, another email client, the Minima Live Wallpaper, Muse, I believe is how it's pronounced, the live wallpaper from Roman Nurek of Google, Pictures with a K, Push Bullets, and Sunrise. It might be kind of weird to have two live wallpapers on there, but I use these
they're both
wallpapers more so than any other really app on my phone because I'm always looking at them. Minima came out later in the year, and I know we both totally fell in love. It matched up with Lollipop's theme, kind of with the shadows and the moving lines very well, so that would be in my top 3, I would say. Phoenix is a Twitter application which is totally legit, has its real-time updating feature, which I absolutely love, because as soon as Nike tweets out something, I get a push, and I'm like, okay, now I know what shoes are coming out, blah, 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 etc. And then, of course, Inbox. Inbox really introduced what material design and email and all that stuff should look like, and it's done so well. Although it really needs Google App support, so we can't use it, say, on our work emails, but it's fine. They said it was coming in their Reddit Ask Me Anything. So, what do you think about that list? Is there anything you would add or remove?
I was just looking, and I use almost all of these daily, except I don't use Pictures because I just kind of stick with Google Plus's photos.
Yeah.
And obviously IFTT, I have some stuff, recipes there that I use, but everything else, like I pretty much, like Push Bullet, I use constantly throughout the day. I haven't used Muse in a while just because I've been using other wallpapers, but it's just one of those that everyone should have because it's awesome. Mailbox is the app the mail client that I use because Inbox doesn't have Google App support. And Phoenix has got me back into using Twitter on my phone. So I basically stopped using because I don't really use Twitter with a personal account, or I basically just use it from work because I just like to unplug when I'm not working and using Twitter all day. But Phoenix is such a good app, and it does everything that I want it to do. That I found myself in the last week back on Twitter, at least just looking at stuff, not necessarily tweeting and stuff like that. But awesome app. And Cabinet, as a file manager, it's the one I use. I switched to it a while ago, and it's just a cool, it's really simple. It was one of the first apps that tried to adopt material design, and it's simple but nice. So yeah, and Sunrise is the calendar app I use. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nailed it.
Yes. Yeah, these are all the apps I use.
There were some sweet games and apps this year, I gotta say. Although I saw someone say Goat Simulator should be on my games list, and I want to say I do have an honorable mention sections where I have Hellraid: The Escape, Goat Simulator, Cubic Tour, Desert Golfing, Deep Under the Sky, Unpossible, Black, Typewriter, and Game of Thrones. Because they're all great games, but coming up with a top 10 is so hard. I had to have a huge mentions list, and everyone gets recognition.
Yep. Good big lists, actually, especially for the games. Yeah.
Crushed it. Crushed it.
So you want to talk about CES a little bit? That's kind of our wrap up for end of year stuff, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So CES starts Sunday. Well, the conference actually starts. I think everyone gets confused by this.
Yes.
CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. Although I don't even know if they want to be called the Consumer Electronics Show. I think they just want to be known as CES now.
CES.
Yeah. So it starts on Tuesday officially. Big convention, electronics, all the big manufacturers, TVs, cars, phones, not really cameras, but a little bit of cameras, all that stuff. It happens. Big deal every year, second week of January. You guys probably have heard of it. So we get there 2 days early because press stuff starts 2 days before the show floor opens. So Sunday we'll be at an NVIDIA press event, some other CES stuff. Monday's press day where basically all the big guys have a 45-minute press conference and they announce things. We may or may not get good stuff, or we'll see. Tim and I go every year, and Kyle's actually joining us this year as well. And CES. So I wrote up a little preview today, and I wasn't trying to sound like incredibly negative. Tim's like, God, you're just hating all over CES. It's not that I don't like CES because we go and we have a blast every time we go. It's just the news part of it has just changed in the last few years. Like when we first started in this industry, you and I, CES was awesome. Like the first CES we ever went to, like that was when Motorola announced the Atrix and the Bionic and like the Thunderbolt was there. Like all these, those are the first LTE phones. Like Verizon had a big press event and Motorola had, like all the companies had new phones, big phones, LTE, and it was like we were overwhelmed. There was so much cool stuff going on. And then since then, it's kind of all fizzled a little bit because everyone wants to have their own standalone press conference, or they do it at MWC, or the schedules have changed. So CES has just morphed into this like glorified like TV showcase with automobiles now everywhere. And then you get some wearables and stuff. But I mean, like last year, we loved the Razer Nabu wearable. It's still not available. Like that was at CES last year, which the new one's in 2 days, and you still can't buy that thing. So it's like things come out at CES, and then they just never materialize. So you like put in all this time and energy into writing about it, and then it just so. It's not. It's not that we don't like CS. I like going to CS. It's fun. We get to hang out. You get to see industry friends, eat good food, drink
Hang out with
beer,
Dennis Rodman.
hang out with Dennis Rodman. It's a lot of fun. It's just the news wise, I just don't want everyone to get all amped up. Like CS is here. Let's get ready for all the sweet news, and then there's none. So I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier. But anyways, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of beta products that get shown off. I mean, a lot of times you just kind of have look forward to NVIDIA. They're still pretty good about announcing new products at CES and actually coming through on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Samsung, they'll show off some TVs. I mean, you'll always see great TVs. The world's largest UHD displays and blah, blah.
Yeah, you always leave CES going, I want
I
that
want
TV.
that TV. Exactly. You got to drop like $20K on it, but it's so worth
Right.
it. So worth it. But other than that, you just got to go in with an open mind. Expect to see maybe 0.5 good products, out of 10 or 100 or something like that. A lot of vaporware going on. So
Yeah.
it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all marketing mumbo. And it's just a ton of PR people trying to grab you, bringing you over here, and check this out, check that out, trying to make their stuff look more important than the next person's,
Right.
although it's all just not very important, at least in terms of like general public.
Right.
So you have to know how to spend your time. Got to bring a lot of hand sanitizer and Tylenol and
water.
And water, and just kind of take it. Vegas will take you where it wants you to go. You just sort of have to like hang back and allow it to do its thing.
And this is our fifth CES, I think. So we've been doing this for a little while.
Oh man, that's crazy. See what I mean? Like I'm getting older and the years are flying.
Yeah, this is our fifth CES. So in terms of what we're expecting, NVIDIA on Sunday night, I would imagine they're going to announce a new mobile chip. They have to, a new mobile processor, right? We got K1 last year. I'm guessing they'll give us a new one. And maybe a new Shield portable or something. Like I feel like they're going to do something. So Sunday night for sure, NVIDIA will give us something cool. And that's live streamed. Then the next day, Monday, LG is going to announce. It could be anything. I mean, LG usually announces something in each of their product categories. Well, not each of them because there's probably like 50, but they'll announce, new washers and dryers and appliance lines and TVs, obviously, that stuff. And then they usually slip in some mobile. I think we're going to get a G Flex 2. I think everyone's pretty sure we'll get a G Flex 2. And for some reason, I'm kind of excited. Like last year, I know you spent quite a bit of time with the G Flex 2, and you said like the camera was terrible and the performance wasn't great. But
Display sucked.
well, yeah, the display was 720p, right? But it was
Yeah.
their first plastic OLED. So hopefully we get like 1080p plastic OLED, which would be awesome. Curved. It'd be really great if they shrunk it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to have a Snapdragon 810, 64
No
bit.
way. No
Like,
way.
it should be a beast. Well, that's what all the rumors are saying, right? If
Yeah.
that happens, I will actually be kind of excited, as long as it's not like 6.5 inches or something curved.
I enjoyed the G Flex. Of course, you had that self-healing backside.
That's
It
right.
had the curve, which is totally awesome. So I'm still a huge fan of curved devices. Something that kind of fits the mold of your leg when it's in your pocket. I think it's great. You don't have to worry about amateurs doing bend videos because it's pre-bent. It's out of the box, folks.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Although then they'll just try to bend it flat and go, look, it cracked, and it's like, yeah, that's what happens
I'm
when you
pushing
bend
it down
curved
on the
things.
table. Like we get it. It's flexible.
We get it. So that's probably coming from LG, which could be kind of cool. We'll definitely spend time with that. Asus, definitely, they've been teasing products, although they're probably Zenfone products, which are kind of lower end, usually
They're mid-range.
international, mid-range.
AT&T exclusive, like one
Yeah.
thing later down the road.
Yeah, because they haven't been even teasing like the pad phone stuff, which was kind of their higher end. They're basically teasing Zenfone, maybe with some optical zoom, which is kind of cool, but if it's a mid-range phone, who cares? But Asus will be doing something. Qualcomm has a press conference. Last year, it was basically their CEO doing a Q&A with press. It wasn't like they had anything to announce, and I don't know that they have anything to announce this year either. It could be similar, although they're obviously going to probably mention the fact that every phone coming out in the next like 3 months is running an 810. The HTC Hyma that you mentioned, or it's not the M9, right? We're calling it just the Hyma. That's supposed to have an 810. Sony apparently has a new Xperia Z device coming, 810 in that. This G Flex, 810 in that. I think I saw something else that's supposed to. Well, there's a new Galaxy Note 4 variant for Korea that's apparently has an 810. So Qualcomm will mention that. Then Samsung has an event, and I don't know that we're expecting. Obviously, yes, TVs, appliances, just like LG. But in terms of devices, I think last year all they did was give us a couple of crappy tablets, pretty much, right? Like I think that's what we're probably getting again. Like I feel like Samsung makes a product for CES just so they have something to announce. Like it's going to be like the G Tab 9.1, and it's going to cost $200, and it's going to be crap, right?
Well, we had last year the Galaxy Camera 2.
That's right. Out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
and they had like some, what was it, like the NX, Galaxy NX, something like their DSLR stuff or whatever, which was Android powered. So maybe a Galaxy Camera 3, just a lot of Android powered nonsense.
Could you ever buy the Galaxy Camera 2?
Oh, yeah.
Like it actually did come out?
Yeah, GalCam 2. It was out.
Huh.
You
I
know
don't
what you
think
couldn't
we
get
ever.
was that NX, like the really nice one. No, I don't think we wanted to get one. It wasn't really like a big deal. I wanted the
I'm looking
NX
right
though.
now.
I wanted the big boy, and
Yeah.
no luck on that. Samsung.
Oh yeah, look at this Amazon Galaxy Camera 2. You can buy
How
one
much?
for $313 right now. Dropped from $449 now.
So expensive.
Yeah, don't buy one. Let's just say that.
I wouldn't. Yeah, because we're getting a new one here in a couple of days. I'm
Probably,
sure.
I forgot about that.
I'm calling. I forgot all about it. But
And then we got tablets too. Remember, we got the was it the Note
Pro.
the Tab Pro and Note Pro? It was like it was the Pro line, but it was running like really janky pre-software that was super buggy. And they made like that was didn't they had a 12.1 and a 10.1 and an 8 point something. And we tried to film them all, and it was like we were just like, we don't even know what to talk about. These are silly, and like the software didn't even work. So yeah, we might get that again from Samsung.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I know that there's one thing I'm really looking forward to. I was trying to find the email for it, but apparently it's the world's largest tablet. It measures in around like 65 inches or something like that. So you can use it like as your coffee table and sort of just play with stuff,
Hmm.
put your coffee on it. Haven't
The
really.
touch sensitivity must be terrible.
I would. Well, I'm sure everything about it's pretty terrible.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
But I did see an email for it. I'll find it. We'll make sure to stop by the booth.
Oh yeah. After Samsung, then Sony does their big event every year as well, and it seems too soon for the Xperia Z4, but I think people actually think they're going to announce Xperia Z4. Like they just did the Z3 this summer, right at IFA.
Hmm.
So it just seems so soon for the Z4, but a lot of people think the Z4 is coming powered by an 810. So if that happens, we'll get that too. So I think the big things are G Flex 2, maybe something from Samsung like a tablet, Xperia Z4 if Sony does it, and that's it, right?
That's about it.
That's about it. So look, we like CS because it's fun, just to go hang out and see all the craziness. But in terms of news, like don't get your hopes up that we're gonna see the Hyma or the Galaxy S6 or anything really crazy. Everyone's saving that for way later on. We're not gonna get the G4. That's not coming. LG's not gonna announce that.
Pretty much no flagship will be announced, so don't worry about it.
Well, unless they do the Xperia Z4.
Sure, Sony. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Actually, I don't know that they will because last year didn't we get the like Z1S for
Yeah.
T-Mobile or something weird like that?
I hate their names, man. It was like the Z1T or something like that. And I remember I had to write that up. I was so confused because they try to make it very confusing. Anyway, the names.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much it. Like we'll hang out then at the showroom floor and we'll check out devices, have some hands-on time. Yeah. I guess if you're listening and you know we're about to go to CS and you see other things pop up that we maybe haven't hit on, feel free to let us know. We can always go check anything out. We kind of have a schedule set, but we always try to leave time open for things that pop up here and there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we get there Sunday, we leave Thursday before it gets too weird. And yeah, it should be a good time.
Not only that, but if you're in town, feel free to hit us up.
That's true. If you're
We're
in
always
town
down
to
to
see
hang
us, you
out.
can hit us up. We're always down to have a beer.
Hit us up on the Twitters, the
Yes, the
Instagrams,
Yeah.
all that.
So I don't know. You want to talk about anything else?
No, I think that's it. I wanted to talk about Crossy Road, but I already did that, so I think that's a wrap for me.
Yeah. Go Ducks. Poor Florida State.
All those Ducks, whooping them. That was so good. Of course, I'm sure maybe some people may be upset about that, but yeah, go Ducks.
If you're a Florida State fan, I'm sorry, but
Yeah. Oh man, Alabama! I can't believe it. I can't believe Alabama got beat. Pretty intense. So
yeah, bigger surprise. Ohio State actually beating Bama or Oregon just absolutely destroying Florida State.
Ohio State
I would say so.
upsetting Alabama. I mean, it seemed like Alabama was on such a run. Even in the first quarter, it was like, well, this game's going to be a complete blowout. And then Ohio State sort of woke up and started smacking them.
Yeah.
So both were fantastic games to watch. Especially, I don't know if you watching both of the games on TV yesterday.
Yep.
I had the unfortunate experience of going to a friend's house for a watch party, although ESPN Go or Watch ESPN totally crashed.
I heard that it crashed.
So we weren't able to watch like the first quarter of the Ducks game, and we had to go through AT&T's Uverse site to stream it from there. It was like the most complicated thing. It really sucked, and I missed a full quarter of Ducks action.
Oh, the first quarter wasn't great, so you're fine. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us. 2015, brand new Droid Live show. Yeah, we'll be at CS all next week, so stay tuned for that. So coverage is spotty sometimes when we're at CES, just because we're traveling cabs to locations, to cabs, to press rooms, to wherever. We try to get stories to you as fast as we can, but we are not a corporately owned entity with 40 writers. We got 3. So should be fun, though. So join us next week, CES. And, if we can do a show from there, we will try. Otherwise, it might be when we get back. Maybe we'll talk about everything that was. That actually might be more like for next Friday again. Maybe we'll try to talk about CES. So, yeah, thanks for joining us. Have a safe weekend, everyone. We are Droid Life. Peace.
Happy New Year.
Yes, happy New Year.